Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, what are their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Rose Quartz, along with this card which says Angel of Balance. Group 2 is the Clear Quartz, along with this card which says Door to Romance. And group 3 is the Apatite, along with this card which says Journey. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals and the cards to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Rose Quartz, along with this card which says Angel of Balance. So to channel some introductory energies off of this card, this is definitely giving the vibes of the Justice card in tarot. So somebody that you might be disconnected from is considering bringing forth that long-awaited apology, extending some sort of olive branch, bringing forth some kind of long-held truth. This can talk about with this little kind of potion or vial or jar right here, with the lid inside of it, a lot of long held and repressed feelings, things that still have been held on to. If you find yourself in a no contact situation, this can tie into both some grievances that need to be aired in order to move toward calmer waters between the two of you, some kind of truth with this sort of blue liquid that is wanting to be spoken. This can also talk about somebody who still holds you in a very special place in their heart. Across time and space, you continue to remain very precious to them. This may be a circumstance or a situation where they're sitting in a lot of regret and almost contemplation about things that they didn't express when they had the chance previously, that it is now kind of circling back around to them. What would happen if I knocked on that door? What would happen if I opened my heart to this situation? To bring balance or vindication or a sense of something that they may offer or present that could perhaps redeem them in your eyes, quench some kind of a parched energy as far as a lack of clarity and truth from the past, or just in some way to provide you with some sort of reassurance or confirmation that you do matter. If they had taken you for granted in the past or had not really been big on expressing emotions, had been kind of closed mouth as far as that is concerned, that there's this thought that is being invested at this point in time about being more open or forthcoming with these feelings. If this is somebody that you're currently dealing with, maybe even like a crush situation, this can talk about somebody who is considering expressing their feelings, considering opening up their heart to you in this connection, or somebody that you're dating or seeing or in a relationship with currently. They may have needed some time to get to know you in a platonic way. This is someone who could have also, withheld their feelings. Maybe you offered a cup of love, you'd given them signs and indications that you were interested in taking things to the next level, and they sort of declined that or brushed it off in some way, kind of feigned ignorance in that capacity, and tried to maintain maybe more of a platonic stance with you, or have just been very kind of slow and methodical in terms of the pace at which this situation has been developing. But there is consideration about opening the door to deeper feelings being discussed or expressed, things that have been building or that they've been holding on to for quite some time. But it's an energy of observation. Somebody who in the past may be kind of the energy of sort of like once bitten, twice shy, where they're not so quick to just leap in head first into a situation. The wounds of the past have served this person well to where they are now in more of a contemplative stance. They're really going to sit and kind of take that intellectualized approach to matters of the heart. And so this really does indicate, with that idea of balance and the angel energy, somebody who's not trying to toy with your emotions, but is really trying to honor that space within themselves that is feeling they need to weigh both the head and the heart. It can't just be one or the other. But at this point in their life moving forward, or in this particular circumstance, they're listening to that higher guidance, which is telling them to slow down, to wait, to consider all of this, and kind of evaluate sort of how they're feeling in a well-rounded way, rather than letting fears dictate their actions, or kind of this leaping forward in the heart space to cause them to rush in too quickly. This is someone who's been taking the slower route to things, or really just trying to take a methodical approach, and they may be on the brink of kind of reaching some point of satisfaction with that, and giving that serious consideration. It's like one final step before uncorking that bottle and reciprocating the feelings that you've expressed, nearing that point of the next time signals are given, or the next window of opportunity, acting, taking that leap of faith forward rather than holding back, which may have been the case in the past. So I'm going to get into some tarot to dig a little bit deeper into this and see what are their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now. Okay, so we have the Empress, which is Taurus and Libra. King of Pentacles, which is Earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Queen of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And the Ten of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So this is definitely, this King of Pentacles is tying into this idea of the angel here holding on to these feelings, somebody who has something that they want to say, some offer that they want to make, something they want to express, whether this is an apology that they want to extend to you, a confirmation that these feelings are mutual and reciprocated, or that you still hold a very precious place in their heart, maybe even after a lot of time has passed, that they still hold on to these memories, or the possibility of what if. For a lot of you, this may be a circumstance of almost a failure to launch. Things where there were all the makings of emotional contentment. You may have really enjoyed time with one another. You were building to that brink of action, or developing the situation into something more. Maybe stepping outside the bounds of a platonic connection, a work connection, something with like a shared community, only there was a failure to act in the past. And it feels to be something that, if that's the case, this person has always held on to that possibility, that what if. This King of Pentacles, he's wearing armor underneath his cloak. So this can talk about somebody who is still very wounded, very guarded, very skeptical. It feels like about love in general, or even tying in with the idea of the Empress here. This is the energy of that divine feminine, that receptivity, kind of that idealized partner, a place where this person may really understand that, they are safe to kind of take off that armor, take down those walls and barriers, that they feel very nurtured in your presence, very accepted in your presence. This is someone who almost thrives in your presence. They light up from the inside when they are around you, and this is both a very enticing feeling and brings forth a lot of intimidation. It's almost somebody who, it's coupling with this sort of King of Pentacles here, that they may have trouble sort of recognizing themselves fully in the balanced Emperor energy. They may be kind of questioning if they are this adequate match for you. This may have been something that has caused them to hold back in the past, is due to that intimidation, or is causing a bit of delays in this need to almost introspect or contemplate, maybe even tied into the idea of like woundings, things that have occurred in the past between the two of you, or even before they met you. in their romantic history that have sort of made them a little more guarded and cautious, to where they're very hesitant to sort of evolve to the next phase or the recognition of that, seeing that within themselves, that they do have what it takes to rise to the occasion, to be that emperor to your empress. But with this idea of like the King of Pentacles, sort of the end of that pentacle suit, it's almost like they are one step away from looking at themselves in a new light, from kind of changing this costuming that they are wearing. The Emperor also in the major arcana, under his robe, his red robe, this rooted, grounded energy, he is wearing that suit of armor. So it's almost just, even replacing it for kind of this cloak that is covering, this ballast that the Empress is sort of resting upon. It's like you have all of these components in your presence. This person feels very empowered and kind of in their best energy, not the ego based, not the kind of like prideful energy of the Emperor. Even if they embody that ordinarily, or that's still some shadow that they're working on, it's almost like they can see themselves stepping into that place of, benevolence, of feeling strength within vulnerability, of being that adequate kind of like yang to your yin energy, and that this is something that they may be on the brink of kind of discarding one previous way of defining themselves in comparison to you. Somebody who may want to come back in from out in the cold, give this another chance, give it another opportunity, some growth and evolution that has happened in a time when the two of you have been apart, where they're starting to recognize that you hold the key or some component for them evolving in some way, or fully embodying kind of the best that they can be, that with you they recognize their right place. All is right with the world. This is like power couple energy, that again, it's a bit of sort of like holding back. There's a lot of potential within this person that it may be kind of accessible to them when they are with you, or when they think about you, or the idea of you brings forth this part of them, that they have been unsuccessful in kind of generating in their own right, and yet they've had some growth and maturity. It feels like inspired by you, in spite of the circumstances, or even because of the circumstances that have happened between the two of you. If it's no contact and there's a separation here, this is someone who's grown and evolved. They've come into a place of balance. They've come into their own, and they feel very much on the brink of kind of being drawn back to you. There's a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of chemistry. There's a lot of magnetism. Their instincts here, their intuition with this little cat. It's kind of drawing them to this curiosity of wanting to see what else might develop. What about the circumstances between you now that some sort of growth and maturation has happened? If this is someone from your past, maybe the recipe that wasn't quite right between the two of you previously, because you each had to come into your personal power and grow and evolve in these separate ways, kind of become that yin to your own yang before you're able to really provide that to one another. It's a sense of even just kind of perceiving energetically that you've stepped into your own in a major way. You're at a different part of your journey. They've kind of reached a conclusion within their journey as well. And it's kind of this next step, this, answering that call, that curiosity, that instinct that is sort of like drawing them back in your direction, helping them to see through the unknowns and through the fears, into the possibility, into the potential that, this 10 of Cups, this emotional fulfillment, that the climate is right internally within the both of you, and in terms of some time that may have needed to pass, even if this is someone you're dealing with currently, and just the time that needed to pass to get to know one another. It's like they've reached a place of satisfaction. They're satisfied with what they've seen and experienced. They've had this kind of like weighing of the head and the heart, basically, and it's now at this point of being drawn to the state of action, some sort of declaration, some sort of truth and clarity, a reigniting of the potential in this situation, or kind of lighting the way, taking this torch and illuminating more of how they view you, if these are feelings that have not been expressed up to this point in time, opening those lines of discussion for like, where do we both see this in the long term? Let's start to talk about our plans, our ideas of forever, what happiness means to each of us, and see how we can best kind of work and coordinate around these things, to find some sort of happy medium for the two of us, where we can reach the state of emotional fulfillment fulfillment, have those difficult discussions, bravely sort of forge a new path beyond difficulties we've experienced together in the past, if this is someone you were dealing with previously, or if it's just kind of like entering into new territory, kind of holding hands with one another and taking that plunge and sort of accelerating beyond the boundaries and the borders of how you define your relationship to one another at this point in time, in the interest of wish fulfillment, in the interest of taking that raw potential and grounding it down into the material world. They see you as their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and this feels like somebody who at this point in time is kind of, they're working up the courage or kind of that next step, that sort of final component of this equation, some period of like questioning or discovery or introspection within themselves, to be able to feel confident and feel that embodiment that as much as you in many ways represent that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for them, that they too could quite possibly currently represent or are on their way to tangibly becoming that for you as well. So I'm going to get a few oracle cards to dig a little bit deeper into this, and then I'll get into some messages from their higher self. Okay, so we have Observer, Unfinished Symphony, and Yin. So I love this Yin card came out here. This is definitely the Empress vibes. Regardless of gender, you are the yin to their yang, or the yang to their yin, just depending on what resonates for your situation. It's almost, this brings to mind also the idea of you bring up a sensitivity within this person, or a way in which they are able to recognize strength and vulnerability that may be very uncharacteristic for them in terms of their personality and how they're ordinarily moving through the world. There's a desire to open up to you on a more emotional level, to kind of, uncork that little potion right there and see what sort of magic can be created between the two of you. A desire to offer you some kind of cup of love and a place of readiness and preparation that they are actively and exponentially, it feels like, moving into, to be able to receive in a healthy manner, to transcend any sort of fears or hesitations that they may have had about opening up to the possibility of love, to give and receive in a reciprocal manner, those loving vibrations very openly in this connection. It's moving out of a closed energy and a lot of thought, a lot of momentum and motivation that is really coming from within, this intuitive sense that this situation is worth investing in emotionally. It is worth investigating the potential of what might develop between the two of you. What's still salvageable? Are these seeds of potential still viable between the two of us if it's someone from your past? That idea with the unfinished symphony here, and that they're not satisfied with how they have left things with you. This may be somebody with Observer that is looking for a window of opportunity, watching you from afar, wanting to come out with this coyote here, this kind of like trickster energy, this wishy-washy energy, where their vibration and their energy and kind of the chemistry between the two of you was saying one thing, but then there is almost that their actions or their words were very deceptive. It was in contrast to the truth of what they were feeling inside. So there's this desire to kind of right those wrongs, to bring truth where in the past they had maybe denied, or even somebody that you are currently dealing with who hadn't necessarily denied their feelings. It was just sort of like a lack of action, kind of keeping themselves at arm's length, keeping a comfortable or safe distance between the two of you, maybe for a prolonged period of time, and almost with this little kind of crescent moon, this sort of waning moon. So maybe somebody that's sensing a window of opportunity is closing. They're sensing you kind of preparing yourself to move on elsewhere, that you're opening, you're receptive to the possibility of love in the form of another person, to where it's almost, there's this instinctual quality within where they know they need to come clean about something. They need to express something, express it or forever hold their peace. And that idea of forever, of just kind of continuing to walk around in life with these bottled up feelings, to not make that effort to come back into your life, or to not take this opportunity while they have this face-to-face contact with you at this point to express this out in the open. The idea of that, to kind of never know, to go the rest of this lifetime with all of this potential, this kind of like blue throat chakra energy, these unspoken words, or it hasn't been cracked open, it hasn't been brought to the surface. The idea of that fills them with a lot of disharmony and discomfort. So this is somebody who's really mustering up their courage at this point in time, it feels like, to approach you for the first time, in a new energy and with a new degree of openness than has been the case up to this point. Or somebody who is seriously entertaining making those plans and preparations, kind of feeling things out, even energetically speaking, about, is this the time? Kind of just one more step that's necessary, a change in attire, a change in their approach. If they had come forth before in sort of a distracted energy, kind of everywhere, just a lot on their mind with a very busy pattern in this particular, King of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, coming through. So somebody who was kind of like over planning, over strategizing, just holding on to this truth and making very little movement forward. They've evolved into the place of certainty with the King of Pentacles. And again, wanting to shed this kind of busyness and the distractions, the ways in which they had kind of sensed or seen these opportunities to evolve the situation further, sweetness you had directed toward them, things that were really harmonious between the two of you, and the ability to kind of like make sweet music with one another that they had just sort of let pass them by. They're reaching this place very actively and very consciously. This isn't just someone who's being, drawn in by these higher universal forces or by their higher self. This is like tangible, real world energy right here with the King of Pentacles, and really getting ready to sort of shed that garb of all these distractions, all these missed opportunities, all the accumulation of kind of these fears that have been triggered in the past, or even things that have occurred between the two of you. If this is like a no contact situation, or someone you were dealing with previously, it's an interest in sort of like shedding all of that and starting fresh, putting on that red cloak, that rooted, that grounded energy, starting from scratch, starting from square one, building a foundation that is consistent, is solid in its meaning, is trustworthy, is reliable, is stable. You really inspired this version of this person to come online, to come on board, and they feel kind of right about ready to make some sort of move in that direction. It's kind of just a matter of time. They're choreographing things behind the scenes, maybe even kind of to refer back to the little kitty cat here on the Queen of Wands, and also this yin energy. This is someone who's really honoring and listening to that intuition, trying to kind of honor the part of themselves that has been cautious up to this point in time, recognizing, the past between the two of you, and sort of what needs to happen, what needs to be discussed, what needs to kind of be course corrected, trust that may need to be earned in the situation, and that it's a gradual process, but it's something that, rather than continuing to kind of pivot away or hold in place or have all of these kind of like little eggs of this uncracked potential in this circumstance, this is somebody who's gearing up for some kind of an action, ready to receive the cup of love that you have to offer, or ready to really give you their cup of love, again, to see if this is possible to renew this situation, or someone who's getting ready to open up their heart to you for the first time, and maybe have that very clear discussion about the unspoken chemistry between the two of you. And again, this idea of kind of, what does happiness mean to the both of us, and what do we need to do to get there in a way that we both feel validated, seen, safe, and recognized for what it is that we're wanting and looking for out of the situation and out of life in general. So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self and see, what does this person want to tell you right now. Okay, and they say, I need to see you. So this is that confirmation of somebody watching from afar, looking for that window of opportunity, planning this return, planning to reach out. Maybe even if this is somebody that you're currently seeing or dating, they're orchestrating some sort of a meetup with you, some sort of like a face-to-face discussion, wanting to look into your eyes. If this is somebody that you've just been, talking to on the phone with, or doing a lot of kind of like emailing or texting or chatting back and forth, there's a desire to almost like, have some kind of like video conferencing with you, to be able to look you in the eyes, or meet up in person if this is practical and realistic for your situation, to be able to have that soul to soul communication, so that nothing is left to chance, nothing is lost in inflection, any kind of like pause or sort of subtlety or nuance that may get sort of lost in translation, with almost this kind of like lack of being able to take in the subtle movements of the body and facial expression. There's an urge of wanting to bypass all of that, to come in closer, to go more deeply into your interactions with one another, so that you are able to see the sincerity within their eyes. You're able to discern that vibrationally with their body language. It's this energy of wanting to enter back into your world, enter back into your reality, to really see what can develop between the two of you, where this can go from this point forward. Also say, I've never met someone like you. So this is that Empress energy, this divine feminine energy, counterpart. They see you as somebody who is this wish fulfillment, this 10 of Cups. And it's something that might have been very triggering, very frightening for them. The idea of forever, when confronted with that, they may have needed to put on the brakes, kind of that Knight of Pentacles energy, to take it very slow, to be very certain. If they had been triggered in the past, and there's been distance between the two of you, it feels like they've thought a lot about this. They may have compared you to other people, kind of like the grass not being greener on the other side is among the discoveries that they've made. Or if they've dated other people, it's almost the energy of that they've compared you to others, and no one has been able to match up. And it feels to be that if it's a no contact situation, this may have been a long road for the two of you, each of you needing to walk these parallel paths, your journey kind of diverging from one another, so you could come into a place of fullness within yourselves, in order to be able to converge once again, not to repeat the same cycles and patterns, but to sort of pick up where you left off, and change the tempo, change the tone, change the mood of your interactions with one another, and the nature of your connection, because all of these vibrations have been in a process of being transformed within yourselves as well. And they also say, I see you when I close my eyes. So this is bringing forth like a daydreaming kind of energy. They're dreaming of forever, meeting up with you a lot in the astral realm and in dreams. You are a dream come true. You are everything and more than they could have dreamed of and for. And while this is something that it feels like they may have been trying to manifest in that forever partner, someone who may actually be a very romantic person at heart, a very tender and emotional person, that over time and just circumstances that have happened, they've kind of had to wall off their heart. An idealistic kind of a person who has been hurt on more than one occasion, leading with the heart exclusively. And so they've sort of learned to temper that back, step that down a notch, and factor in kind of logic and practicality in these matters. And in doing that and applying this strategy to this situation, when they come to terms with the fact that they are looking for forever, that time is passing, windows of opportunity are closing, and that it's kind of like a now or never sort of energy. All of this is really encouraging them, and increasing the velocity with which they are coming to this point of wanting to reemerge or to make something known to you, because they can see you as somebody in their future. When they imagine the future and who they would want by their side, all signs and all kind of like conscious and unconscious directioning points back to you, and also to who they are in your presence, the part of them that is kind of like awakened and enlivened, that they have a difficult time accessing on their own or otherwise, or a way in which you almost help them see a version of themselves that they had been unaware of before. You sort of pointed the direction to something else within this person, and it may have been a struggle for them to kind of like pick away at all the triggering and all the dissonance within themselves that has doubted that has viewed themselves as kind of inferior, or that they don't quite match up to your expectations, or that they're still a work in progress, that they're damaged, that they're kind of like unlucky in love, just whatever that story looks like. This feels to be something that in the time when you've been dealing with them, or any kind of separation that has been the case between the two of you, they've really been working on that kind of discarding these dissonant beliefs within self, and kind of raising that self-esteem in various ways, working on that stability, working on that idea of success within and without, and are now kind of, they're at this point of being ready to bring something forth to you, to open up more, to take down that guard, take down those walls, open up those lines of communication again, to see, kind of like what sort of a future you two can see with each other moving forward. How do you need to see your way beyond the difficulties at this point, or really sort of looking beyond the limits of what you've experienced with one another up to this point, in order to be able to see and perceive and tap into a wider horizon of potentials for you. And they also say, I love to flirt with you. So a lot of chemistry here in this situation. This is like Queen of Wands energy. You really kind of tap into the best of everything for them. It's this nurturing energy. It's this mothering energy. It's this provider energy. And yet at the same time, they feel so fun in your presence. There's a lot of visceral chemistry between the two of you, where you really just, even the playful banter between you, it really just lights them up. It's like somebody who's walking on a cloud for days after they interact with you, something that it's very apparent in their energy, just kind of this glow or this electricity or this spark that comes alive within them as a byproduct of interacting with you, even in a very mundane fashion. This may be something that kind of sets you apart from other people, where it's almost like you bring forth a better version of this person that helps to kind of make the way in which they move through the world a little bit brighter. They're noticing that as they are surrendering to these feelings, exploring these feelings, allowing themselves to dream about potential in this situation, it's something that their other relationships are better as well. You help to raise their vibration by encouraging and inspiring them to be a better version of themselves. And this is having a very positive impact, not just upon how they feel about themselves, but also in sort of the world around them. So already there's power couple energy here. Even if you find yourself at a distance, or you haven't really crossed that threshold yet of sort of redefining or expanding on this bigger potential between the two of you, it's something that already at this phase, wherever you find yourselves currently, you're having a very positive impact upon them and how they are moving through the world. They also say, I need to get my finances together. So this is that King of Pentacles energy, things, and it ties in with the idea of like self-esteem, things that they may have needed to work on in the material world, ways in which they may have had a bit of a lack mentality, or even this fearfulness, the sense of value and worth left behind by people who trampled on their heart previously, who didn't appreciate them for who they are, who jaded them and left them with a sense of, almost kind of like mistrust of love in a particular capacity. And it feels like this is something that it's been a slow process of learning to trust in these feelings, learning to trust that the situation between the two of you can be repaired, or that it's safe to open up to something more in the situation. This may also be somebody who, has gone through a serious kind of like glow up in a lot of ways. They've gotten really serious. They've cultivated some degree of success for themselves in a variety of ways. Maybe this is overcoming patterns within themselves, or, prioritizing like stability and long-term planning and thinking, rather than just living purely for the moment. So it's somebody who may have also been kind of hesitating, moving towards you, or returning from the past, because they wanted to have something solid and stable and almost worthy of that Empress energy that they see you in. They wanted to have something that was worthy of that to offer. And it feels like in most of these situations, they are nearing that point, or they've reached that point, or have transcended that point. They're feeling good within themselves, and it is yielding this energy of curiosity and wanting to kind of take that step towards you, to return or to unfold deeper into this situation. And they also say a lot has changed. So this person in many ways may be unrecognizable from the person that you were dealing with in the past. If this is a no contact situation, a lot may have changed in terms of their physical reality, maybe even physical changes that have happened to them, career changes, things that had been toxic in their life before. A lot of that may have been closed out and kind of disconnected from. They're making healthier choices for themselves. They're looking better. They're feeling better. They're motivated to bring positive change into the situation. If this is somebody that you're currently dealing with, it's almost like someone who's been on the fence or has been in this period of contemplating or needing to really evaluate and take their time to feel this out, not just be impulsive and lead with the heart, but to allow kind of logic to factor in. The change that has occurred is that they've reached a place of certainty and satisfaction. Certain tests or gatekeepers have been successfully transcended, and victory has been achieved in that capacity, to where they're ready now to sort of open up within themselves or open up to you in developing this connection further than has been the case up to this point in time. So I'm going to get some guidance from Spirit for you and then close it out with some initials. Okay, we've got Lion Spirit, be generous of spirit. So this is definitely talking about the energy of proactiveness and courage right here. This may be something where it could require a difficult conversation or the courage to really hear someone out if this is someone returning from your past. Encouragement here for you to continue to stand in your power, hold your ground, and allow this person the opportunity to prove to you that they've made some changes. Allow them the chance to rise to the occasion to meet you. To demonstrate to you, not just with words, but with whatever corresponding actions they really have been working on, before just sort of like leaping to that conclusion, judging them at face value or judging them based on what has occurred in the past. It feels like for most of you, this is somebody who's had some kind of epiphany and awareness. They've built something, they've grown within themselves. So what they're bringing to the table, it's different than you were dealing with the last time around. Regardless of if you allow them back in or not, it's almost this guidance here to at least hear that out. Look at the full kind of package or offer before you just quickly dismiss that or sort of close the door to that. That maybe it just provides you with some form of vindication, or it may be very surprising kind of this divine masculine energy that this individual, male or female, has actually truly stepped into or has made substantial steps to becoming within themselves. This can also tie into somebody you're dealing with currently, and recognizing that it's taking a lot of courage and bravery for them to take this next step towards you. There may be a lot about them and kind of their personal history or even sort of emotional components about them that they've been withholding from you at this point in time, that whatever sort of action or act they make towards you, for all of this big energy and this planning and the sense of that they feel, ready to kind of step into that emperor mode, what they may bring towards you is just kind of like Ace of Cups energy, or like what we saw with the King of Pentacles holding that single coin. It's like Ace of Pentacles energy. It may just be something small. It's a seed. It's a start, but rather than kind of like taking the sense of anticipation and expecting the world, not settling for breadcrumbs, but understanding sort of this person's internal process and what it may have taken up to this point in time for them to reach this place of taking down that armor, taking down that wall, letting their guard down and letting you in. Looking at this with the energy of almost, trust may need to be built very gradually. The new layer that you could be opening up to with one another, this 10 of Cups, this potential of emotional emotional fulfillment. It's going to take time, pentacle by pentacle, to kind of ground that down into material reality. So rather than kind of like rushing the process from that phase, being very generous with how you are willing to kind of meet them at their level with what they are presenting to you, celebrating this occasion, celebrating the moments and the experiences and the process as you build into what might become between the two of you in the future. As much as you've been, patient and consistent with getting to this point, it's encouragement to continue to, embark in that very proactive and confident stance. You don't need to be the one to chase in this situation. You're already standing in your empowered energy, whether this is someone from the past or the current person or the new person. It's almost like allow them this opportunity to step into that place within that they are the one taking the action. They are the one making the move. Maybe that is necessary because they need to bring an apology, or it's necessary in terms of some sort of triggering or guardedness within them. This is almost, it's a threshold they need to cross in their own time and of their own free will in order to be able to actually step into that version of them that can meet you at your level very consistently. If you chase, if you're the one that does this hard work for them, that kind of like opens that door before they're ready, then you're depriving them that opportunity of really stepping into this power center within, showing you that they are that, partner in the making that trust can be built with, that can be that companion, can be that helpmate to you, rather than one person exclusively carrying the connection. There's almost a need for this person to really embody this energy of strength and vulnerability. This is their test right now. This is their task, and so your job is to remain very confident and trusting in kind of the time and manner things are unfolding, so that you can receive that kind of optimal energy, that match to the frequency that you are embodying at this time. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got M, A, J, F, M, X, W, C, C, E, W, Q, Y, K, G, and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, all dream catchers and sun catchers are marked down by 25%. So if you have had your eye on any of them, now would be a great time to make that purchase. I've also launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for a little more variety from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the clear quartz, along with this card, which says Door to Romance. So just to channel some quick introductory energies from this card as far as the person on your mind's thoughts and feelings about you and the connection. There's an energy of like a forbidden fruit here. Something about this situation that feels very off limits to them. This may be the result of efforts that they made to push you away in the past, to kind of close down their heart or guard their heart from you. And it's almost like something has come to their awareness. They see you now with fresh eyes, but the actions that were taken in the past, the words that were spoken, maybe things to, deliberately try to undermine you or to get you to sort of lessen the way that you felt about them. It's almost an energy of it would be a struggle to come back from this situation at this point. So perhaps it might be better to just kind of, leave this in the past, or that the time's not right. They're not ready to return to this. You feel very far out of reach, or that it would almost take a miracle to be able to earn your trust again. There's a lot of fear that you've closed off your heart to them, that you would not look at them in the same light, although they've come to some kind of like truth and perspective. It's a sense of a fear that you may have moved on from them, or that it would be too little too late, that the tables have turned in this situation, that almost it's the energy of kind of like, if it's a runner chaser dynamic with somebody and you chase this person for a period of time despite their rejections, and then you took your power back, you redirected your focus. This is almost like snapped or reverberated a wave of energy back in their direction, to where they've really had to question, what have they been running from? What have they been hiding from? And what they've been confronted with in that capacity is some sort of a lack within themselves, some sort of like a fear of love, a perception of not being lovable within themselves that they may have really projected upon you. And now that they've seen the light, they've come to this realization. It's almost like the runner has become the chaser, but they feel that you've outpaced them by many steps, and that at least at this particular point in time, that it's almost a semi-impossible task, or it's going to be very difficult. Your walls are up, you're guarded, you're skeptical of this person, perhaps with very good reason. This may even just reflect a lot of fear-based programming within them, sort of excuses that they are making to kind of remain at a distance, or to pedestalize you in a certain way. A sense of reflecting on what has happened in the past, and sort of like feeling that they don't deserve another opportunity for you, that door has closed, that door of opportunity, that window of opportunity, in a sense of almost maybe this is just their fate to watch you move on in your life. Somebody who may definitely be watching you from afar, almost punishing themselves in this capacity. There's a longing, and yet there's an inability to reach out at this particular point in time. This can also, though, if this is somebody that you're currently dealing with at this particular stage, there's no contact. You haven't really evolved yet to that point. Maybe that's kind of like a stuck or kind of a stagnant energy between you. There's a lot that they're keeping secret from you. Again, more of that energy of kind of like a forbidden fruit. So something about you, something about the way that they are viewing you, or maybe your openness as far as your emotions, it really highlights a guardedness or a fearfulness within this person. They're afraid to let you in. They're afraid to love you. They're afraid to fall in love with you, in a sense of, kind of like dissolving or losing themselves to this connection. That may have been the case in other relationships in their past. They may still be dealing with a lot of unhealed wounds from their past as well. Things that, they're kind of like fearful of repeating these same mistakes in this situation with you, and so it's making them have this desire, this attraction, this kind of spark or awakening within the heart space, but then it's almost like they're willing themselves, that they're holding back, they're hesitant to take that leap of faith. They've got the key to this liberation. It exists within you, it exists within themselves, and yet they're kind of unwilling at this point in time to use that to kind of free themselves. Both of those situations can talk about heart chakra activations, the intensity and nature of what has flooded forth from this person. It is causing them to want to put on the brakes in this situation, to kind of push this away, or to need to keep some sort of distance between you and them. Even if you're currently dealing and interacting with them, it's almost like what they've shown you, what they've demonstrated, what they've expressed as far as emotions is almost just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot that they're holding back within, out of a fear of kind of like, if I open the door to this, if I open this box, there's no coming back, and there's no telling kind of, what will come out of this situation. There's no telling sort of who I will become as I am transformed by the nature of this partnership, of this love, of these feelings. It's maybe somebody that's been very skeptical or has a kind of a pessimistic view about love. And despite this kind of mask or perspective that they've been clinging to, you've reached them. You've managed to awaken something within them in the heart space, and there's a resistance. They're kind of clinging to that. They're clinging to the idea that, maybe the universe isn't against them. Maybe love doesn't have to hurt. Maybe it doesn't all have to dissolve. Maybe that there's still a chance. There's still time. There's still hope. There's still the possibility of redemption, or things that might not have worked out in the past, places that they had invested their heart and their energy. Maybe this wasn't the end all be all, that there's now, another chance to embark upon that path of love and experience some different results. So it's big feelings that they have, but a lot they're almost like willing themselves or feeling very trapped or limited from expressing that openly to you at this particular point in time. So I'm going to get some tarot to dig a little bit deeper into this and see what are their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now. Okay, so we've got the King of Cups, which is water energy, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Page of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Justice, which is Libra. And the Two of Pentacles, so more earth energy. So definitely that confirmation of kind of the heart that's on lockdown, the heart that is a bit closed off with this King of Cups energy. There's a lot of love there, but there's a hesitation to dive into this connection or to knock on that door, to reach out, maybe offer some kind of an apology that may be owed, to try to course correct in this situation. Almost a sense of it's their fate or it's their karma, to kind of just watch you move on with your life, watch you, become the sun in somebody else's life, or if this is something where it's kind of a newer connection and they're holding back deeper feelings, it's almost a sense of somebody who may have this deeply ingrained belief within them through, some kind of like a long-term partnership or even a marriage that crumbled or dissolved, that has left a lasting impression upon them, or something they aren't quite healed from, aren't quite ready to sort of put themselves back out there in a profound manner. That sort of, it's this impression within that, love, it dissolves, love crumbles, love is not enough to build a foundation with. They may have had someone they were deeply in love with, deeply emotionally attached to, and kind of when that situation fell apart, they just closed themselves off. Someone who may have only sort of sought out surface level connections. Maybe this is something where they weren't looking for something this deep and intense with you. They kind of kept themselves reserved or held back, and yet despite those efforts, feelings have fluttered forth. So there's a lot of self-restraint, willing themselves to only just give a little bit. It's almost somebody who may even be breadcrumbing, but there's so much more that they're feeling. There's so much more that they want to provide, but they're kind of on the fence about this. Like, am I ready to take this plunge into this situation? Am I ready to open up my heart? Can I trust myself fully to have learned the lessons from previous experiences and heartbreak, and to, do something different this time around? Is this just going to be a repetition of what I've experienced before? Or somebody from the past that may be, watching you with kind of these, love in their eyes, someone who had run from you that is now on the pursuit. They're chasing you. They're on the hunt. They're on the prowl. And it's this energy of, I would like to come back in, but I'm not sure if what I have to give is sufficient. If it's just going to seem like a crumb, if it's just going to seem like a speck, it's not something that is sufficient to, kind of restart this connection. That it's not enough to kind of balance out sort of what happened in the past. Even if this is something that there weren't necessarily, these very egregious things that happened, it's almost somebody who denied the truth of what they were feeling for you in the past. And this has weighed very heavily upon them. They may have built this up to be more intense or more kind of grievous than it was in the past. And so there's a sense of like, how do I apologize? How do I set the record straight? How do I course correct in this this situation. You know, it's kind of like a wishy-washy energy. It's a lot of options that they're weighing to continue to just allow time to pass and just sort of sit in this energy of this is their fate to hold these feelings for you, but have that just kind of linger in the realm of memory, or to take some sort of leap of faith, some sort of chance, you know, to present themselves to you, kind of, I'm hearing put themselves at your mercy, basically, you know, that you, to see if you'll forgive them or if you'll give them another chance. A sense of like a tenuous balance between the two of you. Trust may have been fractured or broken. So they're understanding that this won't be an easy task or an easy process. But they don't necessarily, with these two kind of like lower sort of pentacle energies here, they don't feel in a very empowered stance at this particular point in time to bring something that pivots this situation by way of measurable change. They're still very guarded within their heart space. They're holding on to a lot of hurt, from the past. And so it's almost something that kind of, the situation needs more time to develop. They need more time to kind of enter into this place of confidence. They need to weigh their options. They may need to sit and options, not in terms of like third parties, but options in terms of to act or not to act, to speak or to hold this within. It's almost like they need to be kind of like tied up in knots within themselves longer before they are willing to just sort of take that leap of faith, take that bold action forward. You know, kind of with the combination of these two cards, you know, we get that Three of Pentacles. That's that firm foundation. That's the need to kind of rebuild from the root, rebuild from the ground up. But they're very intimidated at this particular point in time with justice. You know, almost like for them to emerge or reemerge, is this going to make matters worse? A sense of like at this particular point in time, if they have these hesitations or they're keeping their heart on lockdown, there's a fear of like if they push themselves too quickly at this time or in this situation, that it may fall apart. They may not be able to kind of be consistent or to maintain that. It may end up like all these other situations or a particular circumstance of their past where the bottom dropped out. You know, that it wasn't entered into with kind of the best of intentions, or it was something that they may have just through pressure or a fear of missing out, pushed themselves beyond some kind of threshold before they were ready to. You know, that it's almost like needing to sort of weigh or evaluate this a lot more. Taking almost like a practical approach or like a mental approach, not following the heart at this particular point in time. So it's a stillness and it's an observation, but it's not somebody who's turning away. They're very fixed and fascinated by this. They almost can't look away. You know, especially if it's almost a situation where it was a runner chaser and then the tables have turned. It's like they can't stop chasing this now. They can't stop circling back around. As much as they try to like redirect their attention, they keep being brought back to the reality of kind of a wrong turn that was made, or a way in which they let fear dictate their actions in the past, or kind of lead them to this place where the two of you find yourselves at now. That it's complicated, and a lot of this it's their own doing. It's in their hands to sort of straighten the situation out, to undo this knot that has now occurred between the two of you. And it's the energy of like the universe won't let them forget. It weighs very heavily in their heart. They're reminded of you often, and of this kind of push to do something. Even if it ends in rejection, there's almost a need to provide some kind of vindication to you in this situation. You know, to fight that fear within, to uncage themselves, even from sort of like not taking opportunities, or again, choosing that path of fear and maybe holding back. So I'm going to get some oracle cards to dig a little bit deeper into this, and then I'll get some higher self messages. Okay, so we have chaos and conflict, new life, and higher power. So this higher power is really talking about the idea of the divine will not let them forget, even if this is somebody that you're currently dealing with, that there's really nothing to forget. This can talk about, kind of stuffing down or suppressing those feelings. They keep being brought back around to that. That higher awareness within them is letting them know there's some kind of key here, some kind of like a locked door, not just in terms of the potential between the two of you, but it's almost like this higher awareness within themselves that there's a larger ripple here in this sort of crossroads that they find themselves at. It's more than just taking a leap of faith to you. It's more than just opening up to the possibilities of this situation. In some way, it frees them from some kind of like mental pattern, some kind of distortion within, something that has really caused them to kind of undervalue themselves, or to think of themselves in kind of an energy of lack. That to take this bold move forward, it not only frees up the possibility and potential, untapped potential between the two of you that can really be very successful. All these kind of signs that they're getting, it's almost like the fear is very irrational on their part, and that there's a part of them that really knows that to take this leap of faith forward towards you, it frees themselves. It closes out some kind of cycle or pattern from their past, by also stepping into the living embodiment of rewriting that narrative and story for themselves. Definitely somebody that in that Two of Pentacles energy, that chaos and conflict, a lot of inner conflict, a lot of inner turmoil, despite the kind of placid surface or almost this mask or illusion that they are putting on at this particular point in time. That what is going on in that internal landscape, they're not okay with where the connection is. They're not okay with how they are approaching the situation with you at this point. There's a heaviness in their heart. It's taking a lot of effort on their part to hold back and restrain themselves. But there's almost kind of like cracks in this mask. It's becoming more and more difficult to resist opening up to this potential, speaking that truth, even discussing these fears and hesitations, to give you a different perspective of sort of like what you're dealing with, what you're working with at this particular point in time, so that you can make the choice to hold on a little bit longer, or to start to work with them kind of where they're at, to maybe approach this situation from a different angle so that the two of you can kind of ease your way into the next phase or evolution between the two of you. If it's somebody from the past, this new life definitely talks about the energy of reconciliation. They want to move towards you. They want to knock on that door and see, can we start over? Can we start again? But it's something with this pedestal here, it feels very much out of reach at this particular point in time. So they are definitely still operating in this lack, but being propelled forward beyond that. That it's, again, that same principle of sort of their bold step towards you, not knowing what they're going to, receive, being, it could be chaos and conflict, or it could be the illusion that of rejection is kind of obliterated, and what they are presented with, in fact, is compassion and truth and a willingness to sort of work through these things or these difficulties. But it's something that crucial step forward, it frees them from a place of almost ruminating on this, of again choosing that path of fear, which is the easier route, rather than the more difficult road, rather than kind of like climbing beyond that, putting themselves out there, attempting to do the right thing, or honoring this truth that they are holding inside, that beyond their mask, beyond their kind of external appearance, beyond the silence, beyond the no contact, there's still a lot of love that they hold for you inside that was either never expressed, or that they had, for various reasons, kind of acted in opposition to in the past, that it is becoming more and more difficult to kind of shield that, hide that away. It's becoming more and more impossible to deny that to themselves, and also kind of any other environment they may find themselves in. It's almost like a tenuous balance there. Those structures are crumbling. Those masks are crumbling. There's an urge to make movement in a lot of ways in their life, to rebuild a different kind of foundation. This may be something that's also causing them to kind of hold you in this forbidden fruit kind of energy, keep you at arm's length because of other circumstances. This kind of like love that they have, or these feelings that they have, that might be in direct conflict with kind of how they're living their life, other circumstances that they are entertaining at this point in time, that it's almost like a sacrifice must be made, a choice may be made to continue on in the authentic energy that is maybe known and predictable and yet uncomfortable, this inauthenticity, or to sort of throw caution to the wind, to step into more of the truth of who they are, honoring these feelings and taking that bold step towards you, being willing to leave the past behind, whatever that looks like, in the interest of really honoring their personal truth, perhaps for the first time in this situation. So a big decision that this person is weighing within themselves. They keep circling back around to this. They keep, cycling back around to this. And it may be something that, you're picking up on this dissonance from them, this vibration from them, this kind of like push-pull dynamic. You may be definitely, kind of like seeking higher guidance from this, or finding ways to kind of like insulate yourself, not really being able to tell kind of where this is stemming from, this kind of like energy of conflict and turmoil, and so much focus, so much fixation upon this, that it almost feels that it may be kind of intrusive, like they're popping up in dreams. You're feeling their energy around you, all these other signs showing up in your world, and yet it's equating with non-action on their part at this point. Or if it's someone that you're dealing with, it's almost like the clues that you're getting energetically, their actions speak a very different story. And so it feels to be something where it's almost sort of this storm that's churning, that one way or another is going to change the landscape in this situation. But as they are thinking and feeling at this point in time, there's a lot of deep feelings that they have, but it's almost like masked or clouded by a lot of fear at this particular point in time. Something about unlocking the cage to this, opening the door to this situation. It feels like more than they can handle at this point in time, or it's something where they're almost kind of working themselves into a place of panic based on some sort of like unhealed aspects of their past, some fear of, touching upon these possibilities with you, touching upon and savoring kind of the sweetness and the fullness of what might develop, and then a fear of having that crumble or decay, a fear of losing that, almost kind of like, I don't want to let this person in or allow myself to love them, because if this falls apart, how am I going to be able to pick up the pieces from that point forward? So I'm going to get some messages from their higher self now and see, what does this person want to tell you? Okay, and they say, have I lost you? Yeah, so definitely somebody feeling that closing of the window of opportunity, or the door of opportunity. Wondering, is it too little too late to course correct in this situation? Sense of time, really acting as a form of pressure upon them to do something, to take some sort of action. But it's almost that pressure is not helping matters in this situation. This feels to be somebody who's really kind of like working themselves up into a tizzy, almost to a place where they are so fearful that it's resulting in nothing happening, like shadowy Knight of Pentacles sort of energy, over planning and over strategizing, or kind of like being everywhere, kind of like lost in the Seven of Cups, lost in the illusion, to the point where it's resulting in no action forward. It's resulting in this kind of like standstill, or this stagnant energy, where the ball's in their court, the power is in their hands to affect the future of this connection in a very profound way. To either choose to remain silent, it feels like does pivot them closer to that point where a door of opportunity will realistically close. You won't be available forever. You won't be amenable to repair the situation forever. They may literally lose that opportunity with you, or to take some kind of action forward. This could open the door to who knows what between the two of you. Endless possibilities. Both of these unknowns feel to be something that is really a source of panic for this person at this particular point in time. And they also say, I see you in myself. And I almost want to read this, I see myself in you. So a lot of mirrored energy here. Again, you may be picking up on this person's vibration of dissonance, a lot of anxiety that they are inadvertently kind of projecting your way. A lot of fears that you may have had of a very similar nature, of sort of opening up to this, or, you know, if this is someone from the past and the idea of like, should I let them back in if they come back around? This may fill you with a sense of kind of not really being sure. Certain days you're open to that. Other days you're like, I'm better off without. It's probably better that we go our separate ways. And so it's almost like you're doing this dance in tandem at a distance from one another, if it's someone you're currently dealing with and there's a lot that hasn't been spoken or articulated as far as feelings. It's almost like you're doing this push-pull dynamic with one another, leaning into that brink of, okay, let's open this up and start to explore this connection deeper. Let's open up to the possibility of reconciliation, and then sort of backing away from one another and leaning into that current of fear and kind of like, maybe it's, you know, better off that we don't explore this. Maybe it's too little too late. Maybe it's never going to happen. So kind of these polarities of sort of like trust and resistance feel to be creating some sort of friction that it actually feels like in a bigger way is a catalyst for change in this situation. That there's only so long that this kind of push-pull dynamic can go on before something gives in this situation. This may even be something, if it's someone you're dealing with currently, you may be the one, you know, that gets some kind of higher guidance or nudge to break the ice in this situation, to open that door, to take that leap of faith, to lead by example, even to start being more open in the way in which you are talking about feelings, you know, talking about aspects and issues from your past, things that you are fearful of, speaking about your wounds, you know, openly, so that it sort of sets the tone or sets the stage for this person of, let's establish some degree of comfort with one another. You know, we've enjoyed these good experiences. Let's start to talk about the shadow. Let's start to get to know one another in a well-rounded way, in order to kind of add some sort of humanistic perspective onto this. Pull it away from the forbidden fruit, the out of reach, the up on the pedestal energy, and bring it down into reality. You know, let's build from a place of knowing one another in a very well-rounded capacity, you know, which may kind of be that sort of leadership move that kind of breaks up this energy of kind of the push-pull and the back and forth. Or this could be that in that force of friction, it's enough to kind of pivot this person towards you in this energy. I'm willing to take a leap of faith. I'm willing to take that chance. You know, I'm willing to put myself out there. The divine won't let me forget. It's time to bring that apology. It's time to knock on that door. It's time to express myself finally and more fully than I have up to this point. And they also say, I see you when I close my eyes. So this is another confirmation of signs and synchronicities, a lot of reminders, a lot of connecting with one another in the dream space. And it almost feels like somebody who's daydreaming about a conversation that they want to have with you. They're scripting this, they're choreographing it, they're weighing the pros and cons. They're almost somebody who kind of builds himself up to a place of confidence, only to sort of pull away at the last minute and let fear kind of get the better of them. You know, they see a future with you, a future beyond all of this, you know, a future beyond this tension and kind of this holding pattern that you find yourselves in with one another. But it's something that feels very much out of reach. It's very much off limits at this particular point in time. It's still kind of in that etheric sense, but they don't feel to be anyone who's kind of in this grounded point of certainty, of ready to make a move one way or another towards you at this time. And they also say, I'm not sure how you will react. So that confirms the energy of somebody who's sort of fearful of your wrath, fearful of the repercussions of whatever their actions were towards you up to this point, you know, or even somebody that may kind of get the impression that you are sensing or that you're feeling or you're perceiving that they could just be playing with your emotions, leading you on if it's somebody you're currently dealing with. And the situation has kind of stalled out between the two of you. There's been no forward progress emotionally speaking, that it's almost, there's a sense of that it could be too little too late, or again, like a window of opportunity is closing, and you know, that as receptive or open or amicable as the situation once was, or as receptive as you were to them and the possibility of growing and evolving, that other things may have unfolded, or some degree of kind of like cowardice within that's actual, or that they perceive within themselves. There's a fear that this has clouded your judgment, that you don't look at them with the same loving eyes, that you may be looking elsewhere, at other options, kind of preparing your heart to exit this situation. They also say, I'm walking away from toxic situations. So this can definitely tie into the idea of that forbidden fruit energy, certain things that need to be closed out, wrapped up in their own life before they are able to present themselves to you in an energy that is ready to build, that is ready to grow something for the future between the two of you. And it may be something that it's kind of, they're not ready to talk about all of this, or they don't necessarily want to show up at this point in time with kind of half-finished business. If there are other situations that they need to sort of disconnect from, take off that mask, move out of that comfort zone, off the easy path, and kind of onto the harder route of doing the right thing, or doing what it takes to sort of fix this situation or rebuild or advance the circumstance to the next level. It's almost like work they need to do in their life and internally in order to be able to provide you with something that instills within you a sense of confidence that to invest with them, to open the door to the situation, or to really hear out an offer that they may want to make to you in the future, that it's worth your while. And they also say, can we take things slow? I'm guarded. So that is that confirmation right there. Somebody who is very closed off in the emotional space, very intimidated and fearful of the feelings that they have, very fearful of getting hurt again, fearful of how you will respond or react to them if they are surfacing again from the past. A sense of awareness that trust may be very gradual to be built or to expand or develop beyond the current understanding between the two of you. It may be a slow growth process. So definitely somebody that it feels like they're very much on the fence about what they want to do in this situation. Now might not be the time to act, but if this is somebody that kind of inches their way towards you, presents a little something, or kind of scoots in closer to you, it feels like that more specifically pertains to somebody you're currently dealing with. No contact, it feels like they'll still sort of remain at a distance, very caught up in their head, kind of watching you from afar. They almost like the energy of being the one to chase you at this particular point in time. They don't necessarily feel in their most confident self to knock on that door and present themselves. For some of you, though, they might. And it may really demonstrate kind of where they're at, or some sort of growth that is still necessary within them. It might not be the right time for that to develop into something else. But, if it's somebody that you're dealing with currently, any kind of move they make towards you, it's going to just be a little bit. It's just going to be like a baby step. There's still a lot that they need to kind of like release within themselves. Are very intimidated by the feelings that come up here. They're very intimidated by you, and more so also it feels like somebody who's really haunted by their mistakes in their romantic past. Things that people have done to them before that have left, these scars or these marks upon their heart or their perception of self. So they're needing to kind of rebuild themselves in a particular manner, learn to kind of trust in their emotional body again, that it's a leap of faith towards you, but it doesn't, again, feel like something that they're just ready to open these floodgates. So any kind of approach, it's still going to be from a bit of distance, at least at this point in time. So I'm going to get some guidance from Spirit for you, and then I'll get some initials to close out the reading. Okay, and we've got Koala Spirit. Spirit has a plan. So this is all about embracing the unknown, being very open and very flexible with sort of what develops in this situation, in this circumstance, making sure that, this is somebody returning from the past, and, you're sort of skeptical about this. You're the one who's a bit guarded. You're not just going to open the door to them right away, honoring that part of yourself, embracing that, recognizing and hearing out those fears within, and understanding that, whatever the nature of this situation is and these circumstances, that in some way for a lot of you, you've sort of redirected that focus onto self. Spirit is encouraging you to continue along that path and trajectory, and that this person really needs to kind of like rise to the occasion to meet you. They need to bring something forth from them. That may be long overdue, or that is a necessary component of being able to sort of maintain or sustain any kind of fresh start between the two of you. So continuing to, embrace your boundaries, maybe approaching this situation with those personal boundaries intact, so that this individual has the opportunity to kind of see where your energy ends and where they begin. What might have been the case, what might have been permissible or allowed in this circumstance in the past, that you've grown and evolved in a certain way beyond that. You've been on a path of self-love, and to continue along that path. And, you know, it'll give them the opportunity to sort of see what they need to do to kind of match you at that level. If this is in relationship with, you know, kind of like a current situation, someone who's a little bit scared to open up to this situation, you know, again, that idea of like embrace the unknown. You know, if you feel that you've kind of held out long enough, you've waited long enough, you know, and you're not willing to kind of just stand in place anymore, embrace that intuition, something that might tell you that it's time for you to make that move. It's time for you to know one way or another, where is this situation going, to really express yourself, be self-loving in terms of, you know, define very clearly for this individual what it is that you're looking for in your life, what it is that you're hoping to experience out of this situation. Also embracing, you know, the possibility that they might not be ready to provide that to you. But the important thing is that you honor what feels comfortable within, whether you allow this person more time to sort of acclimate and work up that nerve, work up that courage to be the one to make the move, or if you really are feeling, if your intuition is telling you and the signs are telling you that it's time to be the one to create movement one way or another, for better or worse in this circumstance. This is really the guidance to follow that encouragement, to not lean into too many polarities of the what if and the fear-based energies, but to really just trust what you are inclined to do in this situation. Trust that whatever unfolds, it's, you know, it's for a better purpose, whether this is something that becomes an ultimatum that encourages this person to kind of get their act together and approach you differently, or whether this is a circumstance maybe that, you know, you're both going your separate ways, but then it helps you to align with somebody who's more able to meet you on that level where you are, who's able to, you know, trust in their heart and reciprocate with you rather than making you kind of wait in place. It's all about the energy of valuing yourself, loving yourself enough to know when it's kind of in your best interest to sort of wait, give a situation more time to develop, or when it might be time to kind of, you know, express your needs, give someone the opportunity to meet those needs. And if they are unwilling or unable to do that, you know, to create that exit strategy for yourself, or to disconnect and kind of set your sights on other horizons. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got C, G, H, Q, N, D, S, A, J, F, Y, P, R, and U. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, all dream catchers and sun catchers are marked down by 25%. So if you have had your eye on any of them, now would be a great time to make that purchase. I've also launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Apatite. along with this card, which says journey. So just to channel some introductory energies off of this card in terms of this person's thoughts and feelings about you and the connection. This can definitely be a long distance connection between you that is created some awkwardness, or it has made it very difficult to decipher and discern up to this point in time kind of what you both want moving forward, what's possible in the circumstances between the two of you. These barriers of geography, making it very difficult to make plans for the future, maybe even something with like an online connection where there's a lot that's lost in translation as far as the nature of your communications with one another. If there's a lot of like texting, emailing, direct messages, or even just conversations on the phone, that you may not have had that opportunity to really deal with one another face to face. And so there's a sense of kind of like promises that are made in this circumstance, or a lot that's left to the imagination in the situation as far as reading into the intentions of what people mean. Maybe there have been a few occasions, or one occasion specifically, where there was some sort of a misunderstanding between the two of you, maybe due to some kind of language barrier, or again, the idea of words that didn't quite carry the exact meaning that like a face-to-face interaction with someone would have had those kind of cues or tells of inflection, body language, tone of voice, that all of that was kind of like lost, even through like a typo is coming through, to where some kind of like little incident has become like a bigger issue, or it has sown some sort of seed of doubt, something where the distance, kind of like the comfortable space between the two of you also may be something that it's kind of, there's these excuses made to sort of like bridge that gap, plans that may have been made to sort of meet up with one another, move in closer to the situation that sort of fell through, things that could appear to be sort of coincidental, or that are really indications of some kind of reservations or hesitations on this person's part, where you may be actually contemplating or considering, is it time to move away from this situation? Kind of what's the truth of this circumstance? You may feel very singular in terms of like building or accommodating this situation, and that this person is giving you kind of a lot of mystery to go on, not a lot of clarity, not a lot of fact and sort of truth. It's almost like walking a razor's edge with this person at times, in terms of to be able to really see what's possible between us in the future. What does this person really want out of this situation? A lot that is kind of like left to the imagination, and sort of the imagination running wild in this circumstance. This energy can also tie into the idea of somebody that like time and space separates the two of you. So this can tie into like a past life soulmate connection, a twin flame energy, something where, you're in no contact, you're in separation with this person, and just kind of like the accumulation of time, the accumulation of years. It's led to the sense of curiosity, that at various points in time, you're kind of like, you're feeling very connected to this person, very isolated in this journey. Bigger implications here, questions that you're starting to really ask yourself as far as like, why do I still feel this person, and yet there's no kind of like concrete action and movement forward in the material world? This could be somebody who's planning on reaching out to you from afar, coming back out of, a distance of time and space, or moving closer to you. But again, this idea of like a razor's edge energy, they're not sure. Maybe a substantial amount of time has passed, and it's almost like you're going to need to re-meet one another all over again. You both have sort of been on these divergent paths, your own sort of like separate journeys, your own sort of like separate lives. You've grown into very different individuals, sparked by this connection, despite of this connection, because of this connection. You've needed to put your pieces back together in different ways, to where there's an urge, it feels like, on this person's part to bridge that gap, but there's almost this hesitation and uncertainty about, if I move out of this space, this comfortable distance between the two of us, if we move closer to one another, are we going to like what we find? Are we still going to be attracted to one another? Is this something that this chemistry merely exists because there's a lot of element of fantasy involved, that kind of like distance and absence has made the heart grow fonder? But if we bring this down into material reality, if we ground this down, bring it out of the stars, out of the clouds, out of this kind of like very romantic vibration. In practicality, do we have what it takes to repair this? Can we build a bridge across these differences between the two of us? Are we able to cross this divide or these obstacles? A lot of questions, it feels like, that are circulating. Part of this could be some sort of plan or strategy that is being mapped out. Again, some sort of like journeying towards you, or someone who is wanting to, approach you with almost this worldly sort of energy to really prove to you that the circumstances that have kept you apart or that drove you apart in the past have not been in vain. This may be somebody who's been in a process of finding themselves, kind of unbeknownst to the both of you. You've been on this sort of like parallel journeying in your own sort of like separate ways, but really finding answers, answering some sort of call within, to where it really feels almost like two strangers reacquainting themselves with one another. Two people lost to time who are finding each other once again. It's also possible, this is coming through, that for some of you, this may even be kind of a new person that you are feeling, energetically speaking, that it's very hard to decipher. Is this someone that from your past that you were dealing with? Is this a new person? Because it feels so familiar. It's almost like a major new connection. Maybe your twin flame coming into your life for the first time in this incarnation, or some kind of past life soulmate that is, there's contact that's being made, communication, communion that is happening between the two of you energetically, that's almost the introduction to your worldly connection with one another. And so it's something where it's already almost, it's like someone who's falling in love with an energy, two people who are very tied to the sense of like homecoming and familiarity with somebody or something that they are unable to kind of define as far as like a face and a name, not knowing much or anything other than just kind of like this energy feels right. These waves of kind of like protectiveness, or, all these signs, maybe even a lot of angel numbers that are coming in that indicate something's coming, something's on the move, and it may be very difficult for you to kind of pick through and discern, is this somebody from the past? Is this something very distinct that's coming in? It almost feels as well like the idea of the simultaneous exiting of like a twin flame and the entrance of like a twin soul, or a high level soulmate, kind of a replacement person or replacement counterpart energy, for some sort of like a twin flame dynamic where the other person just didn't get on board with their healing. Time's up. That chapter has closed. You've grown and evolved. You've sort of advanced on this journey on your own, and that this other person may be kind of like clinging to that, holding on for dear life, feeling this disconnect between the two of you, or you may be finding it hard to kind of like fully disconnect or walk away, even though there's something more that's kind of like pulling you in, some awareness that the universe is getting ready to deliver to you, or you're being introduced to energetically, this kind of like this individual who is going to match that frequency, who's going to be that, up-leveled, higher vibrational equivalent of what you have really worked to become in and of yourself. So very interesting energy here as far as that concept of somebody that you've not yet met in the material world. And yet there is this distinct energy of thoughts and feelings. Two people who are very consciously aware and very curious, maybe even two people with their own kind of degree of spiritual knowledge and awareness, to be able to kind of ask those questions. Two awakened individuals who are really picking through all the possible variables. Is this an angel? Is this a spirit guide? Is this, some spirit of the departed? Is this an actual physical person out there that my radar is honing in on? My beacon is tuning into this otherness, this energy that feels so familiar. Someone you may be connecting with in dreams, that may be showing up for you in different guises, in different kind of faces that they had in past lives. And you're kind of like, this is how the universe is orchestrating your meeting with one another, a divinely guided connection, of sort of like a lot of moving parts that are happening in the higher realms that are getting ready to ground something down into material reality. So very interesting here, a couple different sort of layers and nuances to this group. So I'm going to get some tarot to dig a little bit deeper into this and see what are this person's thoughts and feelings about you in the connection, and then anything that comes through as far as that elusive kind of person that you haven't met yet in the physical world, but that you're tied to energetically, that's kind of like on their way in, anything that wants to come in as far as that is concerned. Okay, so we've got the King of Swords, which is air energy, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. The Hermit, which is Virgo. Ace of Pentacles, which is earth energy, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And the Ace of Wands, which is fire energy, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So this King of Swords is definitely tying into the idea of some kind of truth and clarity. And so I'm going to try to apply these messages to like all those different sort of scenarios here. So in terms of the person where it's somebody that you're dealing with at a distance, somebody that it might be like an online connection, there's geographic distance between the two of you, a sense of kind of like something's up, something's kind of like there's a need to be a little bit skeptical about this situation. There's a need to like read in a little bit more in the situation. There may be a lot of fears within this person that is causing them to, sort of hold back in a certain manner, or some sort of like a misunderstanding or a lack of clarity, or just a lack of present ability to sort of like cross a geographic distance. This is tying into the idea of, your intuition is correct, that these are not just accidents and coincidences that things seem to be falling apart. There's an energy of that this person almost like needs more time to grow into a greater awareness of what they want and what is possible in this situation. They do have feelings. They want to make some sort of offer to you with the Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Wands does tie into a lot of attraction, a lot of potential that they see, but it's very limited. It just exists purely as raw potential at this point, but it's something that almost is kind of requiring a little more patience on your part. And if it's somebody, that can be kind of like a triggering statement, with this kind of Hermit, which is sort of like long-standing energy, King of Swords, long-standing. This may have been somebody you've been dealing with for a while, years. It's just been kind of like, at a distance, and there's been no sort of forward progression beyond the space that you find yourselves at this particular point in time. But, regardless of that, it's almost like somebody who is needing to kind of like look within and find some sort of truth. They're strategizing a way. They're looking at all these possible options. This may be somebody who's kind of like seeking advice from people wiser, older than themselves. Something within their own kind of like intuition or their wisdom is telling them that sort of it's not the right time to dive deeper into this situation. You both may have a lot of reservations and hesitations about this situation that nobody is wanting to come outward directly and speak about. And so it's almost like you're on kind of like two separate pages here. You're leaning more into the potential and wanting to grow and to develop, and kind of like confused about what's the holdup, what's the limitation, what's the perception of lack. This person is almost like they see their potential, but they're leaning more into the area of, I need to be very grounded and practical. I need to think about this. I need to take the logical approach. There's like a lack of cups. There's a lack of emotional energy right here. So something that's definitely their thoughts and feelings are, this needs to be something which is kind of like kept on hold until there is an actual way forward, until we could build solid bridge, until all these other sort of like factors or barriers have been figured out, planned out, eliminated as much as possible, especially if it's like an online or a long distance connection. They may be just saying, I need more time to try and feel this out. They may not be somebody who's ready to commit, who's ready to kind of like leave behind the life that they are deeply entrenched in, deeply rooted in. And so it may be something where you're kind of tasked with really seriously asking yourself, how much longer are you going to hold on to this untapped potential? It's like a never say never energy, but something where their plans for this situation and tapping into this or developing it further, they're a bit more distant on the horizon. If this is somebody that, like a twin flame, for example, or soulmate that you've been in separation from, your journeys have taken you in different directions, this energy of the hermit does speak to some sort of growth, evolution, and wisdom that has happened. This may, however, be somebody who is still on that journey. They're still within the cave. They're not yet ready to present themselves, but they have come to some kind of truth and clarity about who you are, perhaps very consciously or just something intuitively speaking, where you might be sensing kind of the reintroduction of their energy. You're feeling this kind of flood and almost wondering, is it time for them to reemerge again? It feels that this person has crossed some sort of they've crossed some sort of a threshold within themselves. It's almost like this light and clarity, this companion energy. They feel your energy with them through this process of kind of traversing their own personal underworld, going through some sort of process of up leveling or an ascension journey. But it's almost like there's more they need to learn and to discover, some sort of purpose that they are preparing to step into, maybe like a spiritual path, changes that are needing to be made or that have been made into their material reality, to where when they reemerge, because if it's a twin flame situation, or like someone you're at kind of a distance from, that it was like a push-pull dynamic and you've gone your separate ways, this is somebody who plans on breaking that silence, bringing forth some kind of truth and clarity. At least kind of discussing with you in a very open nature the impact that you have had upon them and their situation, that the struggle between the two of you has not been in vain. This is somebody who may be interested in kind of presenting an offer, re-sparking the connection. There's hope. They keep this beacon of hope alive as they are almost being led on this spiritual journey, that there's still kind of like more that needs to unfold. But rather than kind of like holding in place or having no movement take place, there's a lot that is happening for them and that has happened. They are in this process of transformation. They still feel to be in that cocoon, but they're making steps daily toward reaching that place of, like with the star here and the lantern, this hope, this kind of like revival or restoration. If it had seemed very impossible or was something they were very opposed to before, they're almost kind of like clinging to the light of this possibility when many other things have gone dark in their life. And so it's again this unrecognizable energy, somebody who's stepping into that kind of like higher path, that higher calling. They're in the process of becoming very honest with themselves, a sense of almost needing to hold back until they can bring you the full and absolute truth, until they are ready to offer you something, walk through that door with you, not to sort of lead you on anymore, not to have this kind of push-pull dynamic or to be operating in an energy and a density of fear, but it's somebody who will almost kind of like deliberately keep themselves at a distance, watch you from afar, until they feel prepared to kind of offer you the real thing, to re-spark the connection with the intention of let's make this forever. It's like they'd almost rather do without than to, kind of like put you both on this trajectory of needing to go through the same cycle and lessons. They don't want to contribute more heartbreak to the situation. And so they'll hold their peace until they are able to present you with something, that is kind of the product of this manifestation, of these changes that have occurred spiritually, energetically, psychically, maybe even like physical changes in how they're living their life in the material world. But this is somebody who's wiser. They appreciate you. They appreciate this connection a lot more now than they did in the past, but still in a process of like journeying or needing to find something within themselves before they can present something, by way of change for you, before they're willing to fully walk that razor's edge and be able to say, I have the components to build this bridge between the two of us, if that's something you are willing, interested, and able to do at this point going forward. Now, for the energy of somebody that you're just kind of like energetically being introduced to at this point in time, you're feeling this connection and you've been in this process of kind of sifting through, discerning with this King of Swords, finding that truth and clarity. Who is this energy? Is this somebody that I've been dealing with before, in this reimagined form? Is this, somebody that's like an angelic energy? Is this a real person? Is this just kind of a manifestation of my romantic tendencies or loneliness, or kind of like, what is this? That King of Swords is really speaking about truth and clarity, that this energy you're feeling is a real flesh and blood person. It is a real human being. It is somebody who is on that vibrational level with you. This is somebody who has gone through some sort of process or phase of awakening. What they bring to you, it represents and is emblematic of changes that you've made on your path, personal growth that has kind of like raised your vibration within to where you are now in a space of being able to experience new types of connections, new types of potential. You've earned this kind of like very honest, very direct, very kind of like spiritually based and mature energy, and kind of vibration that is a match for you in many ways. You have earned this through your willingness to kind of like cut away all the untruths, to maybe make some difficult decisions, to disconnect from the idea of a particular person, to devote yourself to this journey of self-discovery, that you are being rewarded with this person that is not just like second best. It's not a runners up prize. It's somebody that really matches that vibration of who you have become and who you are. Somebody who is unwilling to get on board or to do the work. They're being replaced by the universe. They have been replaced, and you are now in the process of being introduced to this new person, this kind of like true counterpart, this kind of like twin soul to the twin flame dynamic, a circumstance that may have been very triggering, ignited a lot, catalyzed a lot, but came with a lot of kind of like shadow and wounding and sort of back and forth and very painful experiences, contrasted with sort of this high level connection that is very activating. It's very triggering, but it brings with it a lot of mutual growth, a lot of kind of emotional quenching, two people who are kind of committed to, feeding into one another emotionally speaking, more of a participatory connection versus just the situation that is meant to kind of, burn a lot of situations and energies down within both of your lives. This other sort of energy is something which, changes through this watershed, but then kind of redefines the landscape in conjunction with you. That feels to be sort of what's on the horizon, what's on deck for you at this particular point in time. So in terms of that person's thoughts and feelings, they are consciously aware. They are asking these same questions. They're almost following your light in a way. They are very fixed on this. This is not somebody who, you're going to have this conscious awareness, and this is you're dealing with someone who's largely asleep or not wanting to acknowledge this, or is going to be very blind to that fact, or is going to run from this situation. They might not be openly kind of discussing with you straight away of like, oh yeah, I remember you from a dream, or you feel so familiar. There could be deja vu, in this, with kind of this King of Swords for the two of you, the sense of recognition, this kind of like past life energy. But it's going to be somebody who's more open to you vibrationally, who's kind of going to be very enthusiastic about the potential here between the two of you, who's going to want to build with you, rather than kind of just like taking this opportunity and choosing the path of fear. They choose the wiser path, the path of love. This may be somebody that in the past has gone through their own sort of battles, gone into their own personal underworld, faced a lot of their fears, faced a lot of their triggers. They've overcome a lot of those shadows. This is somebody with a deep sense of self-awareness, which has equipped them for an awareness of you, somebody who's spiritually aligned with you in many ways, and very, again, cognizant of you. So their thoughts and feelings, they are intrigued. They see potential. They're kind of, for a lot of you, this is somebody who's very determined to kind of like find who this person is. They're opening themselves out. They may be actively trying to manifest you in at this particular point in time. They've moved beyond some energy of kind of like doubt, dismissing this as just kind of like a protective energy, or kind of like a whimsical energy. They may have entertained this, almost thought of you as an angel at one particular point in time, but they are trusting enough in their higher guidance to be able to recognize the signs that say this is a real person. This is an actual relationship or a possibility that you're moving toward. And so they're very eager and excited about that. This feels to be something where they're almost trying to start dialoguing with you. They're trying to tap into this telepathy, or kind of this soul connection through meditation, or even kind of prayers to their future partner that they say every night, not knowing exactly who that's going to be, or kind of the definition of your name and your face, and all these other things, but they're consciously connecting with that energy at this particular point in time. They're trying that out. They're sort of feeling their way in the dark, sort of like, hello, are you there? Are you real? Can you respond to me? So it's interesting. It's kind of this energy of like this higher level connection, a romance that starts from the top down, and kind of grounds down into the material reality long after it has been sort of formulated, and you familiarize yourselves with one another in these higher realms. So I'm going to get some oracle cards to dig a little bit deeper into this, and then I'll get into some higher self messages. Okay, so we have chop wood, no place like home, and poised. So with this chop wood card, as it relates to the situation of like somebody that you've been dealing with at a distance, it's been a long road, or it's been very frustrating as far as like evolving the situation forward in some particular capacity. This person is in a process, or they're feeling the need to kind of get something off their chest to alleviate some sort of burden. They're wanting to participate with you more in this situation, and it feels like the idea of kind of like reaching this next level with you, more comfort, more closeness, it's something that feels very out of reach at this particular point in time, with kind of this pedestal and poised, and also this little home up on the shepherd's crook, and no place like home. They're moving as fast as they can, but it's almost, they feel very overwhelmed and kind of ill-equipped for what they're doing, or what needs to be done. It's the idea, I always find it kind of ironic in this chopped wood card, that we've got that idea of chopping wood, but then there's a broom, and that's not, the tool that you would use to kind of approach that job or that endeavor. So it's almost somebody that their promises at this particular point in time, or words that they said, the idea of something being lost in translation, or there's a knowing within that they can't deliver what it is that you are wanting to experience at this point in time, that they're giving you what they can, but they are very much aware that this falls short of your expectations, or that they're kind of in a state of lack. They're needing to clean some things up within their lives. For some people, this can be a situation where they've omitted some key details, and they are needing to come clean about something that may represent kind of the severing or the conclusion of this situation. If that's the case, and it's somebody that kind of brings you some difficult news, or you're needing to sort of follow your intuition that there's just something that doesn't seem right about the situation, or it's not in alignment with what you're wanting, that kind of a choice on your part to disconnect from that, it puts you in direct alignment with a heart that's going to be able to receive you. As difficult as that might be, a process of sort of a healing phase that you may need to go through, disappointments that you need to feel within and then release, this does put you in line and in trajectory to experience a different kind of partnership moving forward. It's almost like the experience with this individual in this situation may really serve to illuminate within some wounds, or some aspects perhaps in yourself that are needing to be healed, that might have caused you to sort of hold out hope for something that hasn't shown much process of evolution. You've been sort of doing this heavy lifting all on your own. You've been sort of like listening to promises that didn't have a lot of follow through, but this does not always need to be the case, moving forward in your romantic connections, that there may be something really valid to learn out of this situation that you can apply as kind of like an energy of forewarned is forearmed. Going forward, you're willing to tolerate a lot less, or maybe this just kind of satiates your curiosity, or your willingness to kind of get involved in this type of situation moving forward, so that you're able to kind of open yourself up up to love that's a little more accessible, people that are a little more eager and willing to kind of meet you halfway, to cross those barriers, cross those divides, and do what is necessary in order to sort of facilitate the mutual trust and comfort in situations. If this is a situation where it's kind of somebody that you've been in separation from, a long time has passed, there's like a distance of time, and they're considering bridging some sort of gap between the two of you. Again, this idea of chopped wood, same theme here with kind of this, they're attempting something but with a different sort of tool, not necessarily the proper equipment, or kind of the way in which they're viewing the situation at this particular point in time. They're missing something. It's almost like it would take a miracle to get back in, or it's going to still be a little more time and distance. They're not quite ready to reach out. They're feeling that it's a semi-impossible task. They're not exactly confident that they will be well received, or that your heart would still be open to them. So this may be attributing to kind of the sort of waiting period where you're picking up on a lot of these energies, but there's not a lot of follow through. It's tying into the idea of it is possible to transcend this situation, to really reach this place of victory, to ascend this connection. Maybe that's reconciliation, or more openness between the two of you, but it almost feels to be something that's going to take a little more time. They're needing to fight some sort of battle of fear within, or to really discard a previous tool that they have been approaching this situation with. Maybe this is, things within their life or within the heart space, or emotionally speaking, that they're still with this idea of almost like a broom or a mop. In these buckets here, there's things they're needing to kind of sweep out, clean out, clear out within themselves, that it's almost in the best interest of this situation that they not reapproach this particular point in time, because they have accomplished a lot, they've endeavored a lot as far as clearing some clutter, but there's almost some fine-tuning or detail work that they are needing to do. But they are nearing that place of kind of reaching a threshold where what they're able to provide to you, what they're able to kind of like do or demonstrate, it quite possibly might mend this situation. It might quite possibly be sort of the recipe between the two of you to where you're able to bridge that gap. Maybe you reconstruct a friendship with one another, or it opens the door to romance in a different sort of way. There's kind of like a homecoming, like a nostalgia energy. This person recognizes you as home. It's that kind of star in the hermit's lantern here, with this little house with the light on there. Their heart keeps coming back to you. You still are in their heart. You're still in their feelings, even if they are a long way from home. If they remain very disconnected, or like literally even at a distance from you, or time has become that distance, they have not forgotten about you. They still hold you in their heart. There is a lot of thought about, being victorious in this situation, raising the circumstances, raising the vibration, raising the stakes in this situation, showing you a part of themselves, or demonstrating some sort of action that they were unable to present before, that is in direct conjunction with some sort of like personal growth or ascension. They may have reached some sort of like victory state in their life, or a milestone, and there's an excitement. It might have even caused a little bit of confusion or uncertainty in them, where they almost felt inclined to kind of like reach out and tell you about it, and then they remembered, oh yeah, it's been so long since we spoke, or I kind of like pivoted in another direction. That bit of curiosity may really be kind of this door that is open between them, to kind of like clear out some of the untruths and the clutters within of how significant you are, the feelings that they still have for you, or just this sense of kind of being caught off guard, that in their moment of celebration, in their moments of triumph, that their thoughts go back to you. It's an energy of wishing they could be celebrating with you. A sense here of they feel you in their darkest hours, and also at their points of victory. A sense too of this person really hoping that you feel them energetically speaking, that although it may take a lot to kind of make amends in this situation, they really do want the best for you. They're hoping that you succeed, and that you find happiness and love and fulfillment in your life, individually and with somebody else, if that's what you're looking for, or that's what you're open to. But there's also kind of this residual hope within, that they can kind of clean their act up, get their act together, get rid of kind of a lot of the dissonance and the barriers that prevented them from showing up as that adequate partner for you in the past. Now, onto the situation of somebody you haven't yet met in the material world. This is again the idea of kind of like they want to eliminate sort of this distance, the blocks, kind of the growth between the two of you that prevents you from seeing each other very clearly. But they are operating with tools of they don't know who you are, they don't know where you live, they don't know where to find you. They're kind of just feeling around in the dark. They're really being guided by this instinct and the sense of, you know, as kind of like out there as it may seem, or as sort of like remote and without sort of logical, tangible explanation as it is, your energy feels like home to them. You are a beacon that is calling them home. When they think about you, when they tap into you energetically speaking, it brings them to life in a certain way. It fills them with a sense of excitement. Also, that energy of really recognizing that you, energetically speaking, have been a companion for them in kind of their darkest hours and also at their points of celebration, which may be something that has caused them in the past to equate you with sort of like a spirit guide or an angelic energy. But the wool is kind of being cleared off of their eyes. You know, the veil is being kind of pulled from their eyes, and they're seeing things from a fresh perspective. They have this clarity. Something has been gifted to them in this very unconventional way. You know, obviously not like solid material proof, because if this is a situation where you haven't met each other yet, then they can't say, oh, well, it's that person. But it's something that, like, through a dream or through an intuition, a download, even something in meditation, it's just a layer of disbelief has been cleansed and cleared away. Their perceptions have been cleansed in such a way that they now have this rooted truth or this certainty or kind of this kernel of hope that they are following, something that they have been shown that, you know, this is not something inaccessible. This is not something idealized. This is not something romanticized. This is not something, you know, unattainable or just kind of purely spiritual in nature. But, you know, that this feeling, this companion energy, this is a real person that is out there. And so they're almost like on a mission at this particular point in time. Their eyes are open in a new manner. They are going through the motions of kind of counting down the days until they get to intersect with you. They get to meet you face to face. They get to connect with you. But a sense also of this vagueness of they don't know what to expect. They don't know where to find you. And so they're purely just kind of like leading off that intuition, tapping in very consciously, inviting in your energy, trying to create kind of a warmth and a space within. This is someone who's actively engaged. Maybe they consciously resonate with the idea of kind of becoming that love that you seek, becoming the yin to your own yang, or it's something very instinctual on their part. Preparations that are being made emotionally speaking, even in terms of like physical real world circumstances, some kind of move or relocation that may be in the works that kind of, you know, brings you into closer proximity with one another. Other cycles that they are closing out in their life that may be difficult chapters. It may be an arduous process, but it's almost like they've been shown this sort of peak at the prize at the end of all of this, and that is you know, the love between the two of you that has the ability to really be sparked and to blossom into something very beautiful that's a motivation for them to press forward through some kind of darkness they are in, maybe like a dark night of the soul energy. You know, it's almost like it's this motivation to push on, to move forward despite not knowing kind of what's on the other side of that. And a lot of that, it feels like, is inspired. It's influenced by kind of efforts that you're making in your, you know, parallel reality that they are unaware what the details of that are. They feel you on a soul level so closely, so completely in sync with them that it's really bringing them a sense of gratitude for that companionship. You know, as out of the box, as kind of like outside of the norm as that is, it's almost like a best friend energy, despite the fact that you know, they don't have any kind of like contextual information to sort of apply that to. But energetically speaking, it's almost like they're cheering you on and encouraging your victories, and they also feel your energetic support through some heavy lifting that's going on in their life as well. So I'm going to get some higher self messages and see what does this person want to tell you right now. Okay, and they say, can we work this out? So somebody who wants to repair the situation, bridge the gap between the two of you, somebody who's not yet ready to give up on this situation, but may feel very much at a loss as far as how to repair what has happened, what stands between the two of you. There's an energy here of someone who's a bit too prideful to admit that they feel very out of their depth, out of their capability. They don't know what to do to kind of make this situation work, to repair the situation, but they don't feel willing or ready to kind of ask for assistance from you in that capacity. It's almost like someone who's putting the weight on their own shoulders, which ties into the idea of kind of that inappropriate tool that they are using for this endeavor, for this task. It's like, I'm going to chop wood, but I'm going to do it with a broom. That it's almost somebody who is not yet at the place of being willing to cooperate fully. They're taking a lot of this on themselves, a lot of this heavy lifting, a lot of the burden of the situation that may have been caused on their end, caused by things that they said, things that they did, reactions, overreactions, omissions, untruths, whatever that might be, that there's a sense of like heaviness here, that there's a desire to improve the circumstance and the situation, but almost like they're even wondering, like, can we work this out? Can we work out? Can we work beyond these difficulties? They're unsure about that themselves. If this situation has the ability to kind of move beyond this raw potential of Ace of Pentacles and Ace of Wands, or is that all that it's ever going to be? Is just kind of this suggestion, this what if, whatever the scope or dynamic is between the two of you right now, is this all that there is to be experienced in this situation? So a lot of soul searching, going within and seeking these answers at this particular point in time. They also say, you mean more to me than you think. So this can confirm somebody from your past that still has these feelings for you. They think about you. They are motivated to try and represent themselves to you, or to reintroduce you to this redefined version of themselves, or maybe defined for the first time if they had didn't really know themselves, or were kind of like vague and wishy-washy within themselves and with what they wanted, that they're getting more serious. They're becoming more committed to some sort of path of growth and personal development for themselves. This can also tie into sort of a difficult situation of like a long distance connection, that despite all of the difficulties and the uncomfortable energies and the disappointments and the letdowns in the situation, that this person, does have genuine feelings for you, but they feel very much at a loss. Maybe control factors on their part are leading them into a stance of not being able to really ask for help, or to express their fears, things that may be causing them to sort of make up excuses, or to let plans fall out, or to not follow through on these things. That they do care about you, but just the dynamic, kind of the moving parts of all of that, it's a bit too much for them at this particular point in time. So it may take more time for them to try and strategize a way through, things they may not want to really reveal to you about their material circumstances. Maybe they over embellished their financial situation, other circumstances that were going on in their lives. Maybe some of them had like third-party situations, just a lot of things that were not properly expressed, and there's an acknowledgement here of sort of like hurt feelings, confusion, and a sense of that they didn't mean to hurt you. It just sort of it spiraled out of control without them really wanting it to. This also ties into the idea of that energy of somebody that you have not yet met in the physical, and yet you are connected with energetically speaking. They already have feelings for you. They already are very intimately tied with your energy. You mean something to them. You matter to them. You create an effect on them. This isn't just like a passive energy. This isn't just like a cool breeze blowing by their cheek. This is something that has caught their attention. It is something that they are investigating. They are exploring. They have been asking questions and have found and are still seeking a lot of answers to this, to defining this, to what this means, to what to do with this energy. And it's something that you've added a very positive element of mystery to their life. They almost like when your energy kind of comes up out of nowhere. They enjoy connecting with your energy. They like meeting up with you in dreams. It's overall a very positive experience, and that can even be a source of comfort for some of you who are very experienced people in your past, or especially if this was like a twin flame that is being replaced with like a twin soul or another high soul mate, connection. Just that energy of like this person wanting you to know that they're very much pleased by this dynamic, that it's not something where they're going to tap into this and run the other direction. Not to say there's not going to be triggering or a bit of like a push pull dynamic between the two of you, but overall they're eager for this. They want more of this. They want to explore this. They're receptive to this. And they say, I still think about you. So definitely somebody from the past that has a lot of nostalgia. They're wishing that they could course correct, find a way, regretting a lot of the choices that had been made previously in this situation. Almost like if I had known then what I know now, I would have made different choices. You feel like home. They're very nostalgic for you, but again are kind of like they're still a work in progress before they feel ready to sort of reintroduce themselves or have something to be able to really provide you with concrete evidence that they are ready, willing, and able to kind of build a bridge between the two of you. And they also say you are always in my dreams. So this is definitely, confirmation of that energy of the person you have not yet met in the physical world. You are connecting with them in the dream space. If it's an energy you keep dreaming about in, different appearances, like them in their past life forms, this person is also experiencing you in that capacity. You are a dream come true, energetically speaking, in terms of the sense of familiarity and comfort that they have with you, even though you're virtually strangers to one another in a 3D sense. This can also tie into, the person that like there's time and distance between the two of you. They're dreaming about you a lot. They're dreaming about a future, daydreaming about the possibilities of what if, can we resurrect this? Can we rise beyond these circumstances? In their dreams, things have worked out beautifully between the two of you. And they also say, I am ready to commit. So the person you have not yet met in the material world is preparing themselves for this, for commitment. They may be in a process of closing out some other cycles, clearing out other relationships in their life, kind of with you cheering them on, energetically speaking. Difficult circumstances that may have taken a while to sort of disconnect from. It's almost this, motivation of sort of like, do that heavy lifting, have these difficult conversations, make those healthy choices for yourself, because on the other side of that, there is this ability to connect with and to experience and to grow and to develop a different kind of love, connection, and partnership than what has been experienced for either of you prior to this situation, which is still, kind of like spiritually developing, but in the works nevertheless. This can also tie into somebody, from your past that you were dealing with that is they're readying themselves for that, for approaching you in more of a solid energy. That King of Swords and the Hermit, more of a mature energy than they had been in before. They're done kind of like running from this connection. They're done denying this connection. They've reached a lot of truth and clarity. There's somebody who's kind of made progress, substantial progress along their spiritual path. But there's still work that needs to be done before they kind of move over into that space of, that Ace of Swords, that truth that they are holding on to, being able to kind of extend that and deliver that to you. We also have, I'm not happy in this situation right now. So that can definitely apply to someone you are currently dealing with, where there's like long distance, geographic separation between the two of you. It's very hard to, kind of like openly discuss plans, or things keep falling through, or there's a lot that's just kind of like, that phrase lost in translation keeps coming up. So there may be some kind of like a cultural difference or a language barrier between you, that's leading to a lot of this confusion or a lot of these difficulties. And it's something where, as much as this is difficult for you or uncomfortable for you, it's uncomfortable for this person too. It's almost like in the ideal situation, in the perfect world, you would be able to sort of like cross this divide with one another it's a sense of like, if only I could get you alone, if only we were face to face, if only we could be like physically near one another, all of these fears or all of these complications, they wouldn't be so big, it wouldn't be so overwhelming. It would provide so much more clarity than has been able to be presented at this particular point in time. And so they also are understanding that something needs to shift in the situation. They are very aware of how unhappy you are with where things are at right now. But it may be something where they're almost not really sure what else they can do, or provide, or kind of present to sort of course correct in the situation at this point. This can also tie into somebody, that time and distance has separated you, and they're really missing you. They're nostalgic. They're not happy with the distance. They're not happy with the separation. They're not happy with these different sort of milestones that have happened in both your lives, that you've not been able to celebrate together. Victories where it's almost like you should have been together in this, or even difficult and hard times that they may be aware of, where it's almost like you had to go through this alone, or they're wishing they could have been by your side to console you, to support you in a more direct manner through these things. It's a lot of regret at not being there for you directly, and kind of like your high times and your low times, and that this is something that it's putting a lot of pressure upon them. That is also motivation for that person, to start to really and to continue along this path of like personal growth and development, so that when and if they sort of bridge that gap, present that communication, make that offer, re-spark this connection, it's kind of like they're in it for good this time. They're in it with a lot more consistency than they were able to demonstrate to you before, so that you can move out of a place of discomfort, into building into something that is more kind of like mutually satisfying for the two of you. So I'm going to get some guidance from Spirit, and then I'll close it out with some initials. Okay, we've got Seahorse, Spirit, Watch, and Wait. So this is beautiful guidance for all three of those potential situations that were coming through here. That this is definitely, you just keep doing you, keep moving along your path, keep living your life, and in all of these circumstances, it really feels that it's on the other person to make that move. That it's kind of something where the dissonance that's occurring, the difficulties, in the circumstance where it's like a long distance connection, there may be some more time that is required, patience that is required in order to sort of course correct from where things have veered off course between the two of you, or it's become a little complicated. Patience may be required. It's also, though, can tie into the idea if something feels off or it's just not comfortable. You may need to kind of like become more aware and cognizant of these signs, and really ask yourself, how long am I willing to wait around, for things to change, that it may be time to like have that disconnect, and move in the direction of somebody who's ready, willing, and able to kind of like meet you at your level, where there's not so many potential blocks or obstacles, where things flow a little bit easier. If it's a situation of somebody where time and distance is that space between the two of you, again, that idea of like watch and wait, somebody who is, they're still on they're in their hermitage, they're still on their pilgrimage, they're still in their path of like development and growth, as are you. And so as much as your paths have diverged, Spirit is really encouraging you to sort of trust in the magic of this situation, as kind of like synchronistic or serendipitous as your initial meeting with one another may have been, and then whatever pivoted you in different directions, trusting in Spirit to kind of orchestrate that reconvergence with one another. This is somebody who definitely, is fixated on you and the idea of working things out. And so it feels like with them in sort of this King of Swords energy, that they would most likely be the one to sort of deliver that sort of truth, open up those lines of communication, seek you out, and to come find you. So, your best sort of approach and stance is to just, hold your power, hold your ground, allow this person to come to you. That might be sort of the final step in their growth, is to get the proper tool to kind of chop that wood, sort of that direct communication, that clear communication that sort of, gets rid of all of the overgrowth of miscommunication or time that has accumulated between you. with the energy of the person you've not yet met in the material world. This definitely feels to be, the energy of don't look around every corner for where's this person, where's this person. It feels like they're tasked also with that, too much on the prowl for, who is this? I have to find this person. I have to meet this person. This feels so good. This feels like home. I know this is out there. That it's almost like you've been given like a peek, a preview of this. Continue to, develop that relationship with one another in the realm of spirit. You've been given the keys to access this and the awareness of that for a reason. Spirit has a bigger plan in play. Something about this connection that, as unconventional as that may be, as much as you are meant to just kind of observe this from an energetic stance, it almost has all the makings of like a truly fulfilling spiritual partnership, something outside of the ordinary, something built from the top down. Kind of the idea of like watch and wait how spirit sort of orchestrates all of this, the serendipity and the synchronicity that is kind of involved in all of this. If some of you are sort of feeling very defeated of like, well, it feels like a runner-up prize. I had this person I was so connected with. I was invested in this idea of a particular counterpart, or, this was my person, this is the one I was waiting for. This also brings forth the energy of kind of like watch and wait how what replaces that other person who the story with them has come to a conclusion. They have chosen stagnation in this lifetime versus you who have chosen the path of growth. That what is presented to you, it's going to defy what you almost imagined was possible or what you had experienced in many ways with that original person. So this isn't going to be something where you're going to have to settle and make do, and you're just sort of, always holding out that energy of sort of resentment, and it should have been that original person. That it almost feels that this replacement is it's going to be next level. It's going to be beyond what you could have hoped for, what you had experienced with that original soul, with that original individual, because you've changed, you've grown, you've evolved, you've stepped into more of the fullness of who you are. You've embraced this journey as being more than just about a particular person. You've utilized these energies and, harnessed some potential within yourself. And so what is being presented and to you, and what is, in the process of getting ready to be provided to you, it matches this frequency. It's not something that's down here and you're kind of like forcing and compelling and trying to like pull it up. It's almost like you're at this level, this is meeting you at that level, and then there's growth from that point. Something that for as much as there were certain sort of like factors or characteristics of that original experience, in this situation, it's almost like watch how differently this process unfolds. Watch how triggers are handled in this situation, rather than two people kind of like running and fleeing and then fighting this and leaning into the path of fear, where it's almost like people who address that fear but then make that conscious choice to sort of fight their way through that mutually together. It's cooperation, very joint growth kind of energy in a way that will really amaze you at sort of the wonder and the beauty of the rewards on the other side of this journey that you have chosen to embark upon, and that you are still embarking upon, to really make the most of that experience of like a twin flame dynamic of an ascension journey, of some kind of spiritual awakening and growth process for yourself. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. O L A T W U C Q X V R E Y U T W K and N. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And now through the end of the month of June, all the dream catchers and sun catchers are marked down by 25%. So if you've had your eye on anything, now would be a great time to make that purchase. I've also started a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link in the description box as well as in the channel section of my page for that. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. There's a link to that channel in the description box of the video as well as in the channel section of my page. And I thank you for your support there as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.